Hi, everyone. I'm Donna M. Atwood, founder of SEEN, the Spiritual and Extraterrestrial Experiencers Network. And I'm here today to follow up on Enki. Enki was a Sumerian god back in Mesopotamia during that time frame. He's a very prominent figure in what people often refer to as mythology from that time. I tend to think of it more as history. So what happened is I had I had put up on YouTube and other places another video prior to this one, and I had heard of Enki. I think I had seen him on a prominent show that talks about extraterrestrials and our history here on Earth. Years ago, and I remember the name, but I didn't really remember who he was. I looked him up. I did some research on him, and I was channeling him. I didn't ask, to hear from him. Those of you who follow my work know that I've been channeling for a while, for a number of years, but it's gotten more and more and more over the last couple of years in particular. I mean, it's just like almost round the clock. There's something going on in the background. I definitely hear from the Christ consciousness. It's just a quick recap. I do hear from also another ascended master, Abdul Baha. I've heard from Ra. I have heard from an extraterrestrial, an entity who's an insectoid. His name was Chica. I've heard from him a couple of times, I think. 3 at most, but definitely 2. And of course, I hear from the archangels, especially Archangel Michael or Michael and Uriel. Most recently, I've been hearing from Rafael as well. So, and Rafael really started coming on the scene quite recently because of this whole Enki thing that happened. There's a whole thing that has happened since I've talked to you guys. So I'm as I'm recording this video, I've already been asked by the Heavenly Father, by the Archangelics, to please take down the Enki, the first video that I put up, because we don't want to, I certainly don't want to ever mislead anybody. I really just didn't know. Like I said, I just, nothing actually that I've read made it very clear to me who he really might be. So what I found out is, I should tell you what happened first. So what happened is, just a quick recap on the previous video, is that he kind of approached me. I did some research on him, and together at that time, we did a very quick video, and he said to me during that time that he would be happy to talk to me more about his history and how he was involved with humanity. And I did want to hear his perspective until recently. And so I said, okay, we can hear your perspective. And I try to be fair. So what I had heard up to that point is that he was a figure that people felt a little uncomfortable with. Some people didn't seem to be too upset by him. Others really just, didn't want anything to do with him. And that's because he had spliced in he's an Anunnaki, was an Anunnaki, and he spliced in his DNA into already evolving primates, and he created us. But in splicing in the Anunnakian DNA into already evolving primates and creating us, he turned off intentionally quite a bit of the Anunnaki DNA. And the reason that was done, and he was, by the way, a master geneticist, and the reason that was done was to limit our ability to develop. gifts and just, like extrasensory perception and other things that would help us move along spiritually, and as well as technologically. I mean, I can honestly say that as I have had a spiritual awakening and I've opened up and I channel every single day, the divine benevolent realm, the archangelics, the Heavenly Father, the ascended masters. I have grown as a human being. I have learned so much, and I'm so grateful to have that connection to above, So he turned all of that off. I know that some people, of course, have had abilities through, over our history, but for many people, we have not had that. And there are other latent abilities over time when it's appropriate that I'm sure will come up. But when you do that, you limit a being's ability, or a population, in this case, the Earth's human population, ability to grow in the right way, in ways that matter, in the ways that help us become better, do better, be better. So basically, he created us as a slave race to mine for gold. They were the Anunnakians that were here at that time. They were here for quite some time. I mean, it wasn't just a couple of years. It was quite a long stretch. My understanding at the present time is that it was something on the order of around 100,000 years. Maybe it was a little less, a little more, but he was not here for a few days. I mean, he was here for a while. So unfortunately, right before I started this video, I was channeling 3 archangels, Archangel Michael, Uriel, and Rafael. And they explained to me, so I didn't understand at all. I mean, that I was picking up something like they were uncomfortable. They didn't like the first video I had put up, and they knew that I didn't really understand what the problem was exactly with Enki. I had read that he could be a little mischievous. They told me flat out that they saw him as like demonic, and I was really kind of taken aback, excuse me, and frightened to hear that. And they did explain to me that was their perspective, and they were definitely encouraging me to think this through, to learn and really reflect on it. They did want me to put up another video discussing all of this like I am now. They don't ever force me to. They make a request, and I'm happy to do it. But they actually encourage me to really think and learn and understand why they were so concerned about the video, and what sort of their problem, you might say, is with Enki, why they're so uncomfortable with him. And so basically, again, a quick recap, he created a slave race without really, while hampering our ability to grow, develop, throughout the years. It made everything harder for all of us to develop and to understand everything, just to understand the big picture, if you will, and to grow not only in consciousness, but in every way, in every way that's spiritual, to develop a society that, that's healthier in every way, emotionally healthier, just we function better, take better care of the planet, all these kinds of things. I mean, I could go on and on. Healthcare, I mean, just everything, business with a capital B, let's say business practices, things like that. So we've been at a disadvantage, is my understanding. And this was understood and done on purpose. So there's that, by Enki. We'll say Enki and Company. And kind of with the understanding, this is the hard part for me. This is what really got me upset before I made this video. So usually you guys see me sort of smiling and cheerful, and it's just because I can't even imagine thinking like this or being like this. It's just beyond any way I can't even imagine. With the understanding that with our species being at such a disadvantage, that if beings perhaps from other places and they're kind of all working together. So we've heard of like the Draco reptilians, we've heard of Anunnaki, we've heard of at least a subset is my current understanding of some gray extraterrestrials. I can't say that they're all with malevolent intent, but certainly a subset of them are for sure. I can definitely say that. Kind of working in cahoots, if you will. Also, Satanism is involved, is what I have been told directly from the Archangelics. Okay, so this is a very malevolent, very dark aspect that's out there and has been interacting with humanity, and has left us very vulnerable. Because you should never, no more advanced species should ever give a less advanced species technology that they are not prepared to properly handle. And I've mentioned this before in other videos about the importance of having your spiritual development and your technological development, at least equal. And perhaps it would be even better if the spiritual development were above the technological development, but you don't ever want it this way. You don't want the technological development to be, quite a bit above spiritual development, which is pretty much where we are right now. That leaves us vulnerable. So, for us to have advanced tech that can be used for good or could potentially be used for bad puts us at risk, for eventually, ultimately killing off our species, or at least drastically reducing the numbers. Also harming this planet and all the other creatures on the planet. And again, we are not the only conscious beings. People are beginning to raise up in their consciousness now during this time of ascension, which is, opening up our consciousness to the fifth dimension. And some of us are multidimensional, and some folks are, and it doesn't matter who's where. The point is that we are all, we are at a time where we have this opportunity now to do this and to grow as people, spiritually, just in every other way. Once you open up like that and you are in touch with the benevolent divine realm, the amount of teachings, the learning, it's incredible. And, they've been really honest with me. They're like, we have pushed you hard. We have pushed you fast. And they really, because they recognized, of course, that my spiritual understanding and development was so low. I mean, I was a good person, but, there was a lot I just didn't know. And to be naive is never a good thing either, so, so, basically, the Anunnaki left and, we just didn't have the ability to grow as we should have been. And it left us over time, over a very, very, very long time. This has left us now where we are today. We are quite vulnerable because we have weapons of mass destruction available that, we could easily just kill each other off. It's terrible. And I'm sure many of you who watch this type of content are aware that there have been beings who have definitely turned on and off and kind of, we'll say fiddled with our nuclear weapons. Certainly in the United States, I believe this happened in the UK and elsewhere around the world. This is a testament that, hello, wake up, you guys shouldn't have all this stuff. You're not ready for it. You shouldn't have it. So that's where we're at. And so to have really taken in the perspective of the divine, excuse me, you can tell I'm pretty shaken up, the divine benevolent realm, the archangelics and ascended masters and so forth. I mean, that's really disturbing to me. So to understand that and to really have taken that in and really, thought about this, I had researched him, Enki, but I'm not interested in having any relationship with Enki at all. I want you to know very clearly, very openly, that I'm about the benevolent divine realm. That's what I'm about. I love people. I absolutely love uh, uh, all of them that I communicated with up there. As I say up there, the archangelics and the ascended masters, and basically, so I said to them, and I've been channeling for a little while, but like I said, it's really been the last couple of years that this is really, really, really taken off. So, this all started like about 12 years ago. So I'm not brand new to it, and I got tricked. I did. So I'm less about being embarrassed about this. I'm openly sharing this with you because I know there's going to be other experiencers out there that are newer to this, just like I am, maybe just starting out. They really don't know. It's so confusing. It can be scary because we should have known about all this anyway ahead of time. Like, this should have been crystal clear. Everybody should have known that at some point we would develop these abilities. It puts us at risk for thinking everybody's mentally ill when in fact they're not. They're simply going through ascension, which is tough. It is, because you have to learn. You have to really go deep and learn about yourself and overcome some things. And everybody's got something or several somethings to overcome, and a lot of growth there that's necessary. So I'm very disappointed that this happened, but I'm very pleased to be able to share this with you, because I want, for those of you who are maybe really, really early in the journey of this, to be prepared. Be prepared. If you are a person who is a loving, kind person that wants a relationship with a loving divine realm, great. I would say stay away from Enki. I want nothing to do with him. And by the way, one more thought I had, and this is something I'm going to research and really spend some time on, and I'll put out a video later on about this. But all of this got me thinking about us as creators, us human beings. We have brilliant people creating robots. Obviously, we have AI, and I started thinking, Enki and company. But Enki is really the person that was the master geneticist, as I understand it. We're creating what we call artificial intelligence, and creating, beings, basically, robots. And so it really got me thinking about the ethics of this. I'm having a tough time with sort of creating a slave race. I think maybe we really, I don't know. I've kind of always felt that if a robot is going to truly be a sentient being, if they really, really have a level of intellect and understanding that's quite advanced, man, I kind of think really that we really have to think carefully about how we interact with them, treating them with respect. I think if we're really going to let them continue to evolve and all of that, they should have rights. Then I start thinking, well, we were created as a slave race, for gold. This was all about gold back in the day with Enki. So for mining of gold specifically. So I'm going, should we create basically a slave race? Should we create robots that we use on battlefields, or, to go do that, what do they say, the dull, dirty, dangerous work, that kind of thing? Should we really create robots that clean. I'm talking about beings that have the ability to continue to grow, should be allowed to grow. I mean, should we really have them simply clean houses and things like that? Like, this is a real ethical dilemma to me. And again, to me, this goes back to we are rushing the technology. We are rushing it. We are not dealing with the ethical, spiritual side of all of this. And I think it's really important. And listen, I like tech. I think it's really cool. I owned two nanotechnology R&D companies. One I started myself, one I had with my ex-husband. Our intention was benevolent, very, very benevolent. We actually wanted to keep people safer than they would otherwise be without the technology. We weren't trying to create anything like a super intelligent robot or anything like that. Okay, it was nothing like that at all. This was like weather and other things. We really wanted to keep people safe. So I don't know. But I would love to hear your comments. I'm going to dive into this. I'm really going to do a lot of research on this topic. I have a feeling that we are moving way too fast in this area, and that this should be slowed down. This is something that our government should be, people should come forth and be speaking with our leadership, and we should all be prepared. Like, people shouldn't suddenly all be laid off their jobs. I just think that everything is moving way too fast. This does not seem to me like, well, an ethical way to move forward, the right way to move forward. I think we need to respect everybody, whether we're talking the robots, the humans, everybody. We need to think this through. So maybe slow it down just a little bit and really prepare the population for this, while also allowing, having people hopefully are continuing to grow spiritually and look inside and really take stock of themselves and where they are, and where we start growing and helping one another more and more. Like, our society just is, I feel like we're on the cusp of really a golden age, a beautiful time. And that's what I've been told. That's my understanding. But we have to do some pretty serious inner work, each of us, and help one another to get to that point. So, okay, guys. Well, listen, thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate it. And listen, any thoughts you have on robotics, on AI, if you've had a run-in with Enki. I didn't tell you what happened with Enki, by the way. I didn't tell you the whole story. So real quick, Enki had said to me that, sure, I'll tell you all this stuff about the past, and we'll talk about the history and mining for gold and all that. He said, but I'm going to make a deal with you. And I said, oh, okay, what's that? And he said, well, I want you to go to the gym 4 days a week. Okay. So I said, well, okay, and then I started thinking, I'm like, well, I'll probably go 3 days a week, but it'll be equal time for 4, but whatever, we can work on that. Well, Enki knew what was about to happen, and I had no idea that just a couple of days later, I was clowning around with a friend. It was so stupid, but I fell, and long story short, I ended up spraining my knee, my left side, and I also hurt the ankle a little bit. It was an accident, and I'm pretty sure that he knew that was coming. So he set me up for that. And that's just a little mischievous. I mean, it's not good, it was not the right thing to do, but one might say, okay, it's mischief, he didn't actually hurt you. He just knew something was going to happen. But really and truly, the darker stuff that, that the Archangelics have shared with me. And by the way, apparently, the Christ consciousness is pretty angry, actually, about what's happening and how we've been set up like this. So something to keep in mind. But I'd love to hear from you. I'm just sharing, I'm an experiencer. I'm just sharing what I've been through, and I hope that this helps somebody out there, or maybe several somebodies. So thank you so much for watching. And again, my name is Donna M. Atwood, and I am the founder of SEEN, the Spiritual and Extraterrestrial Experiencers Network. Thank you so much and take care. Bye-bye.